Hey guys, by the end of this video, you learn how to color grade your image using just the levels adjustment right here in Capture One. And we also compare that with a similar method in Photoshop where we use just the levels adjustment to color grade our image to get a cinematic look. And also, we'll compare the two methods to see which method is more efficient so that you can make the best choice for your images when you go on to edit your own images. And with no further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we have to know is the levels adjustment has the power to adjust brightness, contrast, and tonal range by specifying the location of the complete black, the complete white, and the midtones in the histogram. So this is the levels adjustment which we are going to use to make this adjustment to these images. So if you are not seeing the levels adjustment in your own Capture One, you just make sure you're on the exposure 2 tab or the color 2 tab, and then you right click, add a tool, and then look for the levels in the drop down. Look at the levels. If you click on the levels right now, you're going to create a new levels adjustment. So if you don't have the levels, this is how to create it. And they have multiple levels like this. Just come and remove that particular one by going to remove 2 and clicking on remove 2, so the levels will go. So if you come right here and click on remove 2, it will go. So now we have only this levels adjustment. So this is how we are going to edit this particular image right now. We are going to first of all turn off all the adjustment we have made to this image. All the adjustments, we are going to turn off all the adjustment. So this was the before, this is the after, meaning there are still some adjustments on the background. So we come here and reset levels adjustment. So the before and the after, they are now looking way more similar. So the first adjustment we are going to do, we are going to make the adjustment to the background layer. So this is the background layer. Make sure you're on the background layer. And then we are going to brighten the midtone. So this is the midtone slider. If you move it to the left, you brighten the midtone. While if you move it to the right, you darken the midtone. So the background, we are going to brighten the background slightly like this by taking the midtone to the left like this. And now we are going to add a little bit of highlights to the image by moving the slider to the left like this, just slightly like this. So right now, this was the before and this is the after. So after making adjustment to the background, we are going to create a new layer. If you want to create a layer in Capture One, look at this plus icon. You click on the plus icon to create a layer. So we are going to name this dress. We are creating something similar to what we already have. So this is the dress. We are going to recreate it. So if you can see, this is turned off. If you click here like this, you turn off the adjustment. If you click on it, you turn on the adjustment. So this is an empty fill layer. So we are going to make adjustment to the dress. That's why it's highlighted, and that's why it's renamed as dressed. So right now, to make a selection of the dress, Capture One has this tool called the magic brush. So if you click on your magic brush and you click on the dress like this, the magic brush is going to automatically select the dress for us. Now you cannot see the area that have been selected. So if you want to see the area that have been selected, come to your layer, come to max visibility, and always display max visibility like this. So this is the area that have been selected. So if you click on this area, it's going to select this area. Now click on this area, selecting this area. Same thing with this area and this area. So with much ease, we can make selection of a particular area in Capture One like this using the magic tool. This area that have been selected is not wanted. So to remove it, you come and pick your eraser tool and then brush over this area to remove it from the selection. So I'm brushing over this area, you can see that it's removing, but it's very slow. So we are going to reset our eraser tool by right clicking. Now the flow is 2%, meaning the flow is very low. So increase the flow to about 50%. And now when you brush, it's going to remove the effect way faster. Now that we have made the raw selection of the dress like this, we can fine tune the selection by coming to use the draw marks tool, and then we can manually paint over the area that have not been well selected for us. If you're painting and it's not adding a paint as fast as you want, right click, increase your flow like this. Now auto mark should be selected so that the brush will automatically detect edges. So right now we paint over the image like this, the areas we want to be selected, so that we can get a better selection of these areas. So when you are okay with the selection, come to your layer, max visibility, and turn off max visibility. You can also use the M key on your keyboard. If you press the M key, it turns off the max visibility. If you press it again, it toggles it on. So let's turn it off, and now we can make adjustment to this dress exclusively. So you can see after creating the dress layer, you can see you have a new levels. So any adjustment we make to these particular levels now is going to affect only the dress. This is the channel tab. It has the RGB tab, the red, the green, and the blue. So the dress, we want to change the color of the blue. We want to adjust it to a more cinematic blue. It's a blue that has brighter cyan in it. So we are going to come into the blue channel like this. Now, if we move our blue channel to the right, we are going to add green to this channel. If we move it to the left, we are going to add magenta. So we are going to move it slightly to the left like this. That is the mid-tone of the blue channel of the dress. So we are going to add this color like this, and it's not actually mandatory. This is the style we are going for, which is a pleasant style. If you already have a different style in mind, you can move just like as you want. I can see that as I'm moving this, I'm not going to specify a particular number. I'm moving it and now looking at my dress to see how it's affecting my dress. And we can also come back to readjust. So right now we have moved this to the left like this. And now if you move the black point to the right, you are going to remove blue from the black point. If you move this button black point to the right like this, what if you move the top one? You are going to add blue. So this one works in opposite ways. Why this is adding, this is removing. You understand, right? So you try it out to see exactly the color you want. So right now I want to add blue to the black point. So we add blue like this. And now similar thing for the highlight. That is the white point. If you move the white point to the left, you are going to remove the blue from the white point. That is the highlight. If you move this portion, you are going to add more blue to the highlight. So we are going to slightly add blue like this. So you can see that we are oversaturating the dress with blue and also changing the hue of this particular blue. So in order to make more adjustment, we'll come to the green like this. And now, if you don't know exactly what this slider is going to do, move it to one direction, move it to the other opposite direction to see what it's going to do, so that you see the color is adding to your image. Then you make the choices. So right now we are going to move this like this. And now we are going to move the top area. You can see the color is adding is not pleasant. What if you move the bottom area, so that we add blue by removing green from the bottom area like this. So right now you can see that with the levels we are adjusting the overall tonal range, which is the mid-tone, the highlights, and the black points. So right now we are going to add green to the highlights like this. While we remove green, we add green to the highlights and also to the mid-tone like this. And we can also try to check if there's any adjustment we can make here to achieve the color we are going for. So the reds, you can see, if you move the reds to this direction, you can see the color is given to a selected area. If you move it to this other direction, you can also see. And I think this is more pleasant, and this is exactly what we are going for. So you don't have to memorize the process. You just have to move and watch your image to see the adjustment that it is making to your image. So right now we can take a look at the before and the after. This was the before and this is the after. Just adjusting the dress, we can see that our image is looking better and more cinematic. The next adjustment we are going to make the adjustment to the sky, that is to the background. So we are going to create another layer. So if you click on this down arrow button like this, you can see the different kind of layers you can create in Capture One. But for this particular one, we are using the empty adjustment layer, since it's going to give us an empty layer that we are going to add our own marks to. So we'll create a new empty layer. We are going to rename this sky. Now take our magic brush and now we select the sky like this. Now if you are not seeing where have been selected, come to your layer, max visibility, and always display marks. So you can see the area that have been selected. You can continue by clicking on these areas like this. I want to make these selections too, and these areas are going to be selected as well. So it's as easy as it can be. And this is one of the very powerful features of Capture One that I like very, very much. So now we have made selection to the sky. We can now toggle off the marks like this by pressing M. So after creating this sky adjustment, you can see that our levels have returned to default, meaning every adjustment we make to the levels now is going to affect the sky. So in the RGB, which is the tonal range section, we are going to darken the sky a little bit to bring more details to the sky. Darken the sky like this. You see, the more we darken the sky by moving it to the right, the more details you see in the sky. So move the sky to the right. You can also darken the highlight by moving the top slider to the left like this. If you move the bottom slider, it's going to brighten. If you move the top, it's going to darken. So the same thing we are going to do right here. So just adding contrast to the sky to bring out details in the sky. So we can come to the blue channel of the sky, and now we can adjust the hue of this particular adjustment. So if you move to the left, you see the color is adding to your image. If you move to the right, you can see the color is adding. And right now we are going to add a little bit of green to the sky by removing the blue from the sky, just like this, to the mid-tone. Now in the green, we are going to add a little bit of magenta to the green in the mid-tone, and we are going to do something very similar to the highlights and also the shadow area like this. And now we come to the reds. We are going to remove the reds. We're going to remove the reds to add cyan to the sky. To remove reds by moving your mid-tone to the right like this. Now we are removing reds from the mid-tone. And if you move the highlight, you see you're adding reds. If you move the bottom, if you move the top, we are adding cyan, which is the opposite of red. So this is exactly how easy it is to make the adjustment to this particular area. So this was the before, this is the after. So far you can see that all the adjustment we have been making is very, very easy to make and very, very easy to apply. And also the selection is very, very easy. So we have made adjustment to the sky like this. Now we are going to target the skin tone. So to target the skin tone, we are going to create another layer and name this skin. So rename the layer to skin. So we have created a new layer, which is the skin. We are going to take our magic brush, and now we are going to select the skin area. So while on the skin, we are going to take our magic brush. Now we are going to select the skin area like this. Now don't forget to press M to bring up the area that has been selected. So manually click on these areas like this to get a rough selection of the skin of this model. So even without zooming, you can see how easy it is to mask areas in Capture One like this. So when you are done with selecting the skin, you click M again to remove this masking overlay. So now come to the RGB. We can brighten the mid-tone of the skin by moving it to the left like this, or darken it by moving it to the right. So as we move it, you can see that the adjustment or the marks we created was not that perfect. So we are going to manually fix that particular issue. So press M, take your normal brush, and now you brush on your image. Brush over areas you want to perfect the masking effect. And since the auto marks have been selected, edges will be automatically detected. So it's as easy as this. It's a very easy method. I didn't even care to zoom because I know that these brushes are very, very sophisticated and efficient in making their selection. So press M to hide the marks, and now when we make adjustment, it will be applied way better to the skin tone area. So in the reds, we can add red or remove red from the mid-tone of the skin tone. So let's add a little bit of red and also add a little bit of green to make the red more orange. And now we can remove blue in the mid-tone. So just make adjustment to the mid-tone. Now in the shadow area of the reds, we can either add cyan or add red. So we are going to add a little bit of cyan and also add a little bit of cyan to the highlight. And now we can also zoom in. To zoom, if you press down this down arrow button, you can see zoom in and zoom out, and you can also see Z as a shortcut button. So we are going to zoom in to the skin tone area right now, so that when we make adjustment, we can see exactly how it's affecting our image in real time. So we can be making this adjustment of adding green or removing green, and you can see right now the skin tone looks better by removing the green. So we'll remove the green to this amount. Now come to the blue, and see by adding yellow it gets better. So don't forget to always move it to both sides and see which area is giving you the desired result, and then you settle for that. Similar process, you move the top and you move the bottom. So by moving it up, we can see the skin tone is giving us is way more pleasing. So when you are okay and satisfied with this, you can zoom out like this. So this was a before color grading, and this is the stage we are right now. So if you like, you can still come back to your background and continue to make further adjustment. At any point in time, you can make adjustment to individual areas of your image. So in the background now, we can say we want to add blue. You can add blue to the overall image like this, or we can remove blue. So if you want to give it a more orange look, you just remove the blue like this to get this sunset golden hour effect on our image. Or you can add blue to get the blue hour effect. But if you add blue, you see this magenta introduced to our image. Just come to your green and add green. I can see the magenta is now gone by adding green. But for this image, I think adding yellow to get this slightly sunset effect looks way better for this particular image. And now we can still enhance the contrast of the image by adding more black by moving this particular slider down here to the right, and now move this to the left to add more highlights to get this contrast, to avoid that faded look and give our image a more three-dimensional look. So this was a before and this is the after. So you can see all this was achieved using just the levels adjustment right here in Capture One. Now, if you finish color grading your image and you want to give it that final cinematic look, just a tip, let me show you a final tip. You are going to create a field adjustment and name this grain and vignette. So this is not a color adjustment, this is a cinematic effect that is going to make your image look more cinematic. So in the grain area, we are going to add more impact like this if we want, and we can change the grain to different kind of grain like this. So this is a stylized effect you can add to your image, but you have these sliders here to adjust. So you can choose the soft grain. Let's zoom in to see this effect way more. So you can see this grain on the image. You can see the grain on the image like this, right? Let's zoom out. So we can make adjustment to that grain right now. So we come to define grain. You can either add or remove the grain. So right now we're going to add some grain. Let's use the silver rich grain because it's very sharp and its granularity is way more pleasing to me. But you can try out the other option to choose the one you prefer. So that's exactly how to add grain to your image. So when you are done with the grain like this grain you're adding to your image is going to make sure your image doesn't band when you upload it to Facebook or Instagram. So it will not have that color band. Now, to add focus to our image, we can add the final process, which is the vignette. So to add vignette to your image, look for the vignette option. If you are not seeing it, you can right click, come to add to, and now let's look for vignette. You can see vignetting right here. So you are going to add a vignetting to tab. So right now we can add vignette, white vignette or black vignette. For this image, we are going to add a black vignette, but not too much. By adding this vignette to the edges of the image, you bring the focus of the viewer to the subject. So that is the effect of vignette. So at this point, you can see we've taken our image from this flat rate to this cinematic look right here in Capture One. And for a similar approach right in Photoshop, we are going to see if it's more easy to do this in Photoshop or more difficult. And I promise you, to the best of my knowledge, is way more difficult to get this beautiful color grading effect right here in Photoshop. Because Photoshop, we desire you to select, and selection in Photoshop is way more advanced. Like using the pen tool, you have to go and learn how to use the pen tool. But there are other options right here, like the quick selection tool. And if you try to use the quick selection tool to select the dress, you can see that this easily lose control and start adding other areas that we will not want. And to remove this area is something difficult, so you require some skill of selection. Apart from the selection, every other thing is way more similar. So let me show you. If we create this selection like this, let me delete these levels that was here before. If we create this selection like this in Photoshop, you select the dress, which is not well selected because Photoshop selection is more challenging, though more precise, but it's way more challenging to do. But if you select the dress like this, and then you come and create the levels adjustment, you can see that most of the sliders here are very, very similar to the sliders in Capture One. This is the highlight slider, that is the white point, the dark point, and the mid-tone. So you can add brightness, you can add brightness to the highlight or the mid-tone, or brightness or contrast by moving the dark point like this, moving the white point. And you can also see, similar to Capture One, we also have this slider down here, which is the opposite of the slider here. This is the opposite. If this is going to add darkness to the black point, if this is going to add darkness to the black point, this is going to add fade to that same black point. Same with here, if this is going to add brightness to the highlight, this is going to add darkness to the highlight. So these two sliders are working in opposite. And also for the channel, you can see the RGB channel here, the red channel here, where you can make adjustment to the reds, the green channel, just very similar. But since the selection here is bad, you can see that this adjustment I'm making is spilling to the model's hand and even to this signpost right here. So that is the difference between color grading using the levels in Capture One and in Photoshop. And if you want me to go into more details in doing this in Photoshop, because maybe you absolutely color grade in Photoshop, let me know in the comment section right now. But I don't want to bore you with exactly the same thing right in Photoshop, where the difference is just the selection. And selection is a whole topic in Photoshop that you take almost a month or a month plus to master in Photoshop. Just the pen tool is a very challenging tool to learn and master in Photoshop, and I've made a video on that. If you want me to make a more recent comprehensive video on how to use the pen tool in Photoshop, let me know in the comment section right now. So you can see this is the before and this is the after, and you can see this is amazing. So if you don't already have Capture One, you can get Capture One right now and try out Capture One as a more preferable way of color grading from what I've seen. So you can try out Capture One and let me know the results you've gotten in the comment section. If you have not liked this video and you've watched to this point, please like this video. If this video has been impactful to you, insightful, please let me know in the comment section right now. Don't forget to subscribe as well, because we'll be putting out more helpful tips, tricks, and photography tutorial. Happy to be part of your creative journey. If you have any question, let me know in the comment section. And if you have any suggestion, there's something you want to know, let me know in the comment section. If you're having challenges with understanding Capture One, you can check this channel. I've made a full masterclass beginner focus Capture One course. You can watch that before coming on to watch this to make it way more easier for you. Happy to be part of your creative journey. See you in another amazing tutorial.